Hello, everyone who has tuned in. I'm Emma from Art Science Museum. We are very delighted to have you with us today for the second session of Let's Talk About. Over the last couple of months, all of our lives have changed in many ways. We can no longer play with our friends, have big gatherings, go to playgrounds, or even go to schools like we were used to. Like many other museums around the world, Art Science Museum had to keep our doors closed for a little while to keep you and everyone around safe. But now in phase two, the museum doors are open, but we will continue to meet you online to remain connected with you. That's why it's really exciting for us to have all of you here to join us for this session. Let's Talk About is part of the many programs that are available online with Art Science at Home for you to enjoy. Through many exciting workshops, virtual tours, and performances, you can learn how to make your own crafts, tour Art Science Museum, or even watch performances in the comforts of your own homes. If this is your first time joining us today, every episode of Let's Talk About would want to answer the questions that have always been on your minds, but you can't find any answers for them. For example, have you ever wondered why there are always old uncles and aunties hanging out at the void decks and staring into blank spaces? Why are they alone? Where are their family members? Why are they not playing with their grandchildren like how your grandparents will be playing with you? What can we do to help them? Let's find out more today by talking about the seniors at the Void Deck. Discover how some of their lives are different from advertisements and posters that we see on TV and on the streets in Singapore, and what we can do to spend more time with the older people around us. Today's session will start with an introduction, followed by a heart-to-heart chat with a special guest, before ending with a Q&A session. Right now, we are live on YouTube and Facebook. So please feel free to pop in questions or thoughts that have always been on your mind in the chat box below, and they will be answered later on. Now let's hear a bit more from my friend Hazeem, who is the founder of the Signpost Project and part of the Birthday Collective. Hazeem, please.
Thank you, Emma. And hello, everyone. I'm Hazeem. I'm from the Signpost Project. So today in this session, I'll be talking about the seniors at the Void Deck. So sometimes you see them in your neighborhood, HDBs, and maybe you'll be wondering some questions. And let's explore these questions in this session ahead. So I'd like to first start off with this image. So we see this uncle here sitting down at the Void Deck. So I'd like to ask, what comes to mind when you look at this image? So feel free to use the chat function to share your thoughts. So some of these questions could be things like, how is this uncle feeling? Is he feeling lonely? What's he done? What's he doing here at the Void Deck and instead of being at home? Is everything all right at home? Has uncle eaten? Now, with these questions in mind, think about some of your favorite memories with your own grandparents or parents. And similarly, in the chat function, also feel free to use like your favorite emojis when you think of these memories, right? Memories of going to hawker center with your grandparents or parents, maybe even going to the zoo or bird park. They're all open now. And also maybe spending time doing homework with them. So all these memories, the emotions that it makes you feel happy, joyful, satisfied even. So feel free to use the chat function to share your thoughts and emotions. And with these memories, unfortunately, not everyone can enjoy such experiences. Many elderly in Singapore are quite hard hit by social isolation. They feel alone. Most of them also stay at home alone. So they don't really have children looking after them, no siblings, no parents as well. But I talk about elderly isolation, but what is elderly isolation? So the textbook definition really is a complete or near complete lack of contact between an individual and society. But what does that mean? Simply, it just means that many old people, they feel lonely. They don't really, they can't really talk to their friends. They have no one to turn to. They don't really have anyone to share secrets or gossip with, or like even the happy moments that they see, or they see a funny moment on TV, they can't really share it with anyone. And many elderly in Singapore face this issue of social isolation. They feel alone because they live alone, separated from their family and friends. But what are the reasons? Why are they feeling alone? Why are they elderly? Why are the elderly isolated? So, as mentioned, they have no friends or family because as they grow older, many of the friends and family they do pass on, or maybe because their friends may simply be busy with life and they simply lose contact. So even with their children, maybe the children are also busy with homework or busy with school, and because of that, they lose contact with their children. And the children busy with life, or even the parents are busy with work. So many of them, they feel that they can't spend time with the elderly. And also, one other reason is the fact that they are homebound. So the elderly may be due to disability or failing health. So because of old age, they feel weak. It is very dangerous for them to go out also. So that's why many elderly, you see, they have like a walking stick or a walking support so they can go out. But it's also very dangerous if they go unaccompanied. And if anything happens to them, it can get quite bad. And last but definitely not least, the third reason as well is because of preference. So they don't want to disturb anyone. Many of these elderly, they may face trouble, but because they feel like they don't want to put the burden on anyone else, they would like to bear the burden by themselves. So they don't want to disturb anyone. But all these effects of elderly isolation, what can it lead to? So one definitely is loneliness. They have no one to talk to. This sense that they have no one to turn to. Then it could also result in mental health issues. So prolonged periods of loneliness could also lead to days when and even prolonged periods when they start feeling very, very sad. They feel that they have no one to turn to, and they're all alone in bearing this burden, this emotional burden. And unfortunately, this also could lead to suicide. So they may take their own lives because they feel it's the end. And many elderly in Singapore are experiencing this. They feel that they are alone, that they are just waiting to die. They live day by day in their homes, no one to talk to, no one to share, and they're just waiting for their deathbed. And this is also because of the stigma, as Mr. Ng here says, the stigma against mental illness. Many of these elderly folks are forgotten by society, with people going out of the way to avoid them. So as mentioned about how this elderly, they have this mental illness, but they feel afraid to share it because they feel people might just make fun of them, or they feel that people may turn away from them. And this is even worsened by the COVID-19 situation. So during the circuit breaker period, many of the elderly couldn't even go to the void deck to enjoy fresh air or to relax, even go to the hawker center, kopitiam, to talk to their friends and family. And sometimes because many of them live at home alone, they're just stuck home alone, and they really can't do anything much other than watch TV and cook. And many of these seniors, they're not like us. So they don't really use social media. They don't use Facebook or Instagram. And because of that, they can't really contact their friends or family. And this really worsens the effect of loneliness. So here at Signpost Project, what we do is we target a specific group of elderly, and they are the peddlers and cardboard collectors. So when we talk about peddlers, it really is those uncles and aunties who sell tissue paper, who sell keychains, and if you're nice enough, they add on stickers as well. And some of the questions you may ask is, why would they take up such jobs? Why would they go outside to sell tissue paper, or why would they collect cardboard? So some of them do it for income, and this is to support their children. Some of them, when they have siblings that they need to support, or even parents they need to support, so they do it as a living. They go out, they earn the money, they sell tissue paper, earn that money to buy food and necessities. And secondly, as well, some of them not just do it for income, but also because they don't want to feel very lonely. And the thing is, many of these peddlers and cardboard collectors, they position themselves, they place themselves in very crowded areas like shopping malls or even MRT stations. And the reason, there's a reason for that, and it's because with this crowded area, they feel that they're not so lonely. If anything happens to them, because they may have some illness or conditions, if anything happens to them, they are in public, someone may be able to see, call for help. And also, if they put themselves in public, maybe someone will talk to them. And that's what we do. So at Signpost Project, we always converse with them, we engage with them, we talk to them. And this is the story of Uncle Tan. We've talked to him for quite a long while already. So every time we see him beside the bakery and just outside the MRT, we wave to him, and then he will say, they always like, "Ni hao ma," and he's very joyous whenever we see him, and he'll always share his stories about wanting to go to church. Unfortunately, now the COVID-19 situation, churches have restrictions, so he's unable to go there. But he always share with us stories about his life, about how he lives alone with a helper, and how when he goes out as well to sell tissue paper is because he can make friends, and he has a very, very close friend who talks to him almost every day, and they talk for hours on end. So it's one of those reasons when we talk to Uncle Tan, we learn their life stories, we learn their experiences. So what can you do? So of course, one is to converse with them, learn about uncles, aunties' life experiences, ask about their day, how they're feeling. And usually the very good opening question is always, "Uncle, auntie, have you eaten already?" And sometimes you may be able to help them buy a meal. Then of course, you can do your hobbies, do what they enjoy with them, watching shows, playing your favorite board games, or even just favorite games. Third is going out with them. So now bird park and zoo all open, can also bring them, can have a meal at the hawker center together. Many of them really quite interesting. Many of them do like popiah as well. So, and also the other thing you can do is teach them how to use Facebook or Instagram. And you can use that to stay connected. A lot of them, they don't know how to use Facebook, Instagram, and because of that, they don't feel that they can connect to their friends and family. But if we teach them how to use it, they can start messaging their family, their friends, and they won't feel as lonely. So whatever you choose to do, cherish your grandparents and parents while you can. Spend time with them, do their homework. You can even just do your homework with them, watch TV with them. Before I wrap up this session, I'd like to invite you to think about some reflection questions. So things like, what are 3 things they've learned about elderly isolation? What causes it? What are the effects of elderly isolation? What are the 2 things that you can do to help prevent elderly isolation? Things like conversing with them, engaging with them, talking with them, and what are the things you can do? Lastly, but definitely not the least, is what is one thing you want to do with most with your grandparents or parents? And with that, I thank you so much. Remember to spend time with your grandparents and parents today. You can also follow the Signpost Project on Facebook and Instagram. And with that, I'd like to hand it over back to you, Emma.
Thank you, Hazeem, for sharing with us and the little things we can do in our lives to make their day. There were many emojis and emotions coming through the various platforms from our audiences. There's really indeed a big part of older people who are living alone in Singapore who needs more care and attention from all of us. However, what we can all start with is to form a closer bond with our grandparents and parents who are around us, or even if they are overseas. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce another friend of mine, Dina, who will be joining us together with her grandfather, where they will be having a chat to find out about what her grandfather does on a daily basis. While Dina and her grandfather are having a chat, please feel free to pop in your questions and comments in the chat box below. Over to you, Dina.
Thank you, Emma, for the introduction. Hi, everyone. For today's hands-on activity, we will be working on an activity sheet made by Hazeem, who just presented earlier, and his friends at the Signpost Project. So if you click on the link that we will share with you at the comment box, you will find a very easy activity sheet that you could do with your grandparents or even your parents as well. If they are not staying with you or if they are overseas, all the more this is the perfect opportunity for you to connect with them. So it works like a checklist where it says morning, afternoon, and evening or night. And you can draw down or write down the different activities that you want to do with your grandparents or parents, whether near or far. After which, you can share it with us at the hashtag ASM Let's Talk About. Here are also some prompters to ask you to take some time to think about the wonderful memories that you have with your grandparents and parents. What are some of the things that you enjoy doing with them? For me, when I was a lot younger, I still remember a Japanese song that my grandfather once taught me. I did not know the words to the song, but I still hummed to the tune of the song and sang along because it was really catchy. Would you like to listen to that song? Come, meet my grandfather, whom I call Yai. Hello, Yai.
Hello,
Yai is grandfather in Japanese. So, Yai, can you introduce yourself? What is your name?
my name is Muhammad bin Hassan.
Muhammad bin Hassan. All right. How old are you, Yai?
My age is well, 91 years old.
Yay, very good. Sometimes he's 41, sometimes he's 29. It really varies. So Yai is really old. He is 91 years old. So some of our conversations are mainly very basic ones just to test his memory, like the date, what is the date today, what is the year that we live in, and even his birthday. Do you remember when is your birthday?
My birthday is on the 5th May 1929.
That's right. Yeah. So sometimes he remembers these things, but sometimes he does not. So that would also lead up to another kind of activity. We would do math just to calculate his age. So these are some activities that we do on a daily basis. So Yai, based on the 3 different days, which is your favorite day? Is it in the morning? So you say Yai exercises, Yai eats his breakfast and read the papers. In the afternoon, he's always watching the television. And then at night, he's either having dinner or playing games. So which one is your favorite, Yai?
My favorite is on the evening time after
Evening
dinner.
time. After dinner. Why do you like evening time the most?
Because almost after dinner, I play the Uno game with my daughter.
With your daughter only, what about me? With the family, right?
Yeah, all the family.
So he loves Uno games. He also likes to play chess and checkers.
Yeah.
Why do you like to play card games?
Because this one is very interesting.
Very
I can
interesting.
remember my mind collecting my mind.
Okay. So we play games with him just to help him keep his mind sharp. So if you have a grandparent at home, play some games with them. So yeah, shall we hear that Japanese song that you love to sing?
Yes.
Okay.
Deng deng moshi moshi katatsu mori Omaino atamawado kone aru. Suno dase arida se atama dase.
Yay! I still don't know what it means. Let's find out. So, Yai, what is the song about?
The song is about the animal named snail.
It's about the snail.
Asking the snail, where is your head?
Mm. So, how do we sing it again?
So asking the snail about the head of the snail.
So where is the head? Where is the head?
Yeah.
Okay. That's interesting. We all learned something new today, and I've learned so much more about the song now. So simply with this activity sheet, you could save it in your phone. You could either print it out and stick it on your fridge just to remind ourselves to check in on the older folks every once in a while. You could visit them occasionally if they're not too far away, or if not, you could write them a handwritten letter. And then now with technology, just give them a ring or even a video call if they are tech savvy enough. So at the end of the day, we just want to let them know that we care and that we love and cherish them for all that they've done for us. So the seniors at the Void Deck are no different to our grandparents and our parents. So don't forget to say hi to them, give a little wave, and let's treat them like our own. And with that, we end this session. Shall we say bye-bye to everybody?
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. What's bye-bye in Japanese?
Sayonara.
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 Bye-bye. Thank you. I hand the time back to you, Emma.
Thank you, Dina and Yai, for joining us today. We are getting many applauses from the audiences for Yai. Such a great chat that tugged many of my heartstrings, and I'm sure for many of you as well. Let us invite Hazeem back for the Q&A session.
Hello.
Yeah. Hello, Hazeem. Let's begin with a comment from Flint, who's 11 this year. He feels sad that some grandparents are lonely, and his grandparents live far away from him, and he can't see them as much. And Flint is actually encouraging everyone to visit their families as much as they could. So, Hazeem, what are some of the tips you can provide to Flint for him to feel even more connected with his grandparents who are living really far away from him?
I think I'm a very strong advocate for snail mail. So I think like writing letters and maybe even like decorating those letters, sending it over to your grandparents will be, I think, a fantastic idea. Of course, one other way is also calls. But I'm assuming if they're living very far away, then there'll be an issue of time difference. But I feel even with calls, to hear someone's voice, it is very, very meaningful as well. So I hope I hope you keep in touch with your grandparents as well, spend time. And I really like the suggestion that everyone should visit their families when they should.
Thank you so much, Hazeem, for sharing. So let's begin with like some of your thoughts. Like, what made you kickstart the whole signpost project?
I think because I stay in dormitory back at Yale in US, so I noticed quite a lot. There were quite a few peddlers around the area, and I wanted to search out organizations that tackled this area. But there were not many organizations that really focused in especially the western part of Singapore. So I thought, hey, why not do something for them, even if it's like a small group of us who can hold conversations, ensure that their needs are met. And I think, and I'm glad we actually started this because with like COVID-19 going on, the circuit breaker, many of them actually faced quite a few troubles with income issues. And I think it was particularly important for us to be able to liaise with MSF, to be able to think about the kind of policies that we could help support these elderly, these uncles, aunties with.
Cool. We have a comment from one of our audience, Christina, who commented that there's so much we can learn from our seniors. So with your sharing just now, you mentioned about Uncle Tan and how you guys actually had a lot of stories from him. So what was one of the most memorable story you have heard from Uncle Tan?
From Actually, from Uncle Tan, I think is all about how he really has maintained that long-term friendship that he had when he met his friend outside the bakery, and it's always about the conversation has always been about how he always receives so much happiness, especially when he goes to church. He's able to make friends with them. I think there was another story that actually came up from my mind was actually regarding this auntie who faced a car accident. Was involved in a car accident. She's a cardboard collector, but one thing was really interesting. That because she couldn't really collect cardboard, her neighbor decided to help her. So the neighbor decided to collect cardboard from all around the neighborhood and put it into one spot. Then the last mile from that one spot to the cardboard collection, then the auntie will do it. Because it's all about pride also. Like the auntie doesn't want to feel that she's letting someone else do it for her, right? So the neighbor realized that, and okay, I do everything else, you can do the last part, and that's what they did. So it was this sense of community that I think it was that really touched me as well. How the neighbors are very proactive into helping one another.
So this like I think what we call in the local terms the kampong spirit.
Yeah,
That's happening amongst
it is.
all like the residential areas and things like that. We have a question from Okiwo who's asking, what do the elderly want to do at the void deck?
What games do the elderly? Sorry, what? Sorry, could you repeat the question?
Putting a couple of questions together. So actually, like, what do the elderly want to do at the void deck, or like, what are the kind of games they actually like to play?
Ooh, okay. The games that they like to play, actually, like cards like Uno. I think they really love Uno. I think anything that has very they're colorful, there's big visuals. I think so games that are simple, more simple to play, like Uno, or even games like Snake and Ladders, are board games that are easy for them to move around and interact. I think those are the games that they like to play with. Yeah, and what games they like to play at the void deck? Actually, more so whenever we meet people at the void deck, it's not necessarily about playing games per se, but a lot of them are very willing to talk about the newspaper that they're reading at the void deck. So usually when you come across your uncles, aunties at the void deck, they're always usually either chatting with their friends or they're reading newspaper. And when you talk to them, they always talk about what's happening on the newspaper. And usually because there'll be some words they are unable to really figure out, so they'll ask like, hey, boy, you can read this word, right? Okay, you help me understand what this word means. Yeah.
It's so cute. So like with the newspapers going to be migrated fully online, I will see probably in the near future, the next few, like maybe 5 to 10 years. So the question from the audience, from Rahul, is actually, how do you think we can actually teach the elderly how to use mobile application? It can be actually for even games or even to read newspapers. Now with the mobile applications, you can actually use the audio assistive tool whereby they can just play, so they don't even have to ask you how to read the words anymore. So how do you think we can teach the elderly how to use mobile applications?
I think actually same goes for teaching anything. I feel it always comes from trust first. So I think you always have to talk to them for quite a long period of time first before you build the trust to be able to teach anything. And when it comes to mobile apps, I think one thing to note is always to increase the font size to very large. And it actually I remember there's this particular auntie, she didn't know how to she couldn't unlock her screen or even use WhatsApp. But then I realized because the icon setting was very, very small. So even for myself, I was struggling to find where the WhatsApp icon was. So definitely one thing is visual. So increase the icon setting. But I think really being very step by step about it. I think sometimes even like myself, I take for granted. Oh, it's very intuitive. Like the three buttons at the side, the three dots at the side, it means for settings. But for it means for an elderly, it'll be like, what are these three dots for? Then like slowly being very thorough, being meticulous, and just explaining very slowly what the different settings and different buttons do, I think will go a long way. And of course, I think one thing to note is you can't teach it. You can't teach using an application in one day as well, and they will definitely forget. So I think constantly having that conversation, checking in, and be like, "Uncle, auntie, you remember how to use your Facebook? Remember how to access your Straits Times application?" Yeah, I think constant check-in is very, very worthwhile in teaching how to use mobile applications.
Yeah, that's really helpful. We have a comment from the audience, UT, saying that I see elderly at my void deck playing Uno all the time. I mean, just imagining them doing last card, Uno game. I think that would be
You're all following Yain's lead, lah.
yeah. So if our audience UT is still around, like, have you seen like the elderlies doing last card or Uno game, and they are trying to smack their hands down when they have the +4 and +2? So
Actually,
we have
yeah,
another. Sorry, please go.
Nah, yeah, actually, there was this one intense game of Uno that was being played on one of the void decks. So you could see everyone, they were all just chatting. But of course, this was before pre circuit breaker days when all the gatherings were allowed. Actually, I realized another game that they love to play is also mahjong or checkers. Yeah, so that's one thing. They love. It also stimulates the mind, especially mahjong. So even though I myself don't know how to play mahjong, I've asked people to teach me, but it's very complicated. So I'm actually very impressed.
Yeah, and it helps a lot with their thinking process as well. And
Yeah, I
like,
agree.
like when I was much younger, when I played with my grandfather, and he actually like tells me to hurry up, you're so slow, I was like, okay, sure, I will speed up a bit. But yeah, so we have a couple more questions from Adrian.
Sure.
He's asking, what is the best way that we can get involved to make friends and help out with the local seniors?
I think one thing, so there are two ways. One is definitely through the more formal process or going to organizations. Like, can either be volunteering at a social service office, could be volunteering with like line befrienders, or and going through them to see what other organizational needs. Maybe they require volunteers to go down, interact with them, or it could be perhaps actually dropping in, doing calls to check up on some of these elderly, because some of them sometimes we because of safety procedures we might not be able to really go down to meet the elderly because of COVID-19, etc. But still giving them calls would help. Then the other way of helping rather than the formal process of going through organizations would be just going around the neighborhood. I think definitely I fundamentally believe like as long as we come in with like a sincere heart and open heart and like with a smile, we can make friends with anyone. So even with like the peddlers who sell tissue paper or stickers, like you can just go to them, buy. And I think as long as you become a regular customer, sometimes they'll give you free add-ons like stickers, or even putting like the wet tissue into the dry tissue bundle. And I think having slowly the relationship will build familiarity with the face, and then of course building the relationship as well, and then conversations will go on.
Yeah. You're so right about the putting a wet tissue in a stack of dry tissue. There's this uncle that I always buy wet tissue from, and there was this time he actually gave me like 6 packets of, like, he was very proud of the Watson sticker, and then he put another packet of wet tissue, and it was only for $2. I was like, no, uncle, it's clear. He's like, no, please take, I need to clear. So it was until an instance whereby my helper is asking, why do I have so many tissue packs inside my bag, inside my work bag? But yeah. It's quite. Oh, we have a lot more questions coming in. We have questions like how are the response from elderly to promotional materials such as advertisement, and what can we do to the advertisement to attract elderly people even more?
Sorry, I don't quite get the question. When you mean promotional materials and advertisements.
So, for example, maybe the promotional materials can be used to share with them the mobile apps and how the elderlies can be techy. How like even polyclinic appointments and all your checkup reports can be used, can be accessed from your phone. But elderlies actually, many of them are not even aware of this function. Like how can we use advertisements, or what probably is the best ways to actually let them know that there's such functions out there.
I actually okay, maybe I'm slightly old school, but even with revisiting advertisements, I think many of the elderly that we've talked to, they do receive quite a few government pamphlets about the kind of different policies, and sometimes they'll receive like other promotional materials. But also understanding that not all of them have some of them may have difficulty seeing or difficulty reading. Of course, some of them only solely speak in dialect as well. So sometimes the promotional material, there could be a language barrier. So I still believe that in changing behavior or wanting to encourage something always requires the human touch behind it. So, and that requires like someone to be able to translate some of these, I guess, policies or these products and services to ensure that so that the elderly would understand how it's relevant to them. Because I do see sometimes when I visit homes, there are stacks of like sometimes promotional material at the side, and it is one a fire hazard, and also it becomes what's the word when it stays there for too long, but hoarding. Yes, hoarding. It becomes a hoarding problem. Yeah.
Right. We have a few questions around the same topic, which is asking about how some of our audiences have not seen the usual auntie or uncle selling tissues at maybe hawker centers. They are no longer there as more. Apparently they are not there because the license and everything has to be checked and things like that. What are some of your views or thoughts on this?
So one thing definitely I agree that many of the peddlers in Singapore are unlicensed. Whereas regarding enforcement, I'm not very sure whether it's been very tight nowadays. Personally, I feel that nowadays it could be tighter because of COVID-19. So perhaps safe distancing issues. But right now, when with the elderly and peddlers that I've come in touch, some of them have expressed a dilemma, right? Some of them they do not wish to go outside to sell because of COVID-19, like because they're old. If they expose themselves to the virus, they might get it, and it could be very bad for them. So they choose to stay at home. But of course, there are those who choose to peddle outside because fundamentally they want to be able to still earn their income because some of them still have families to support. So they go outside despite the fact that they are sometimes in crowded areas like shopping malls or MRT stations to sell. But it's because they want to earn income. And it's those people that we still keep in touch because for if their income or in any way is cut and they are unable to support their families, we liaise with the relevant social service officers as well as with MSF on how we can best support. And also this is not just an MSF issue as well. There's different ministries and agencies involved. So on our end, we try and navigate the kind of different policies that are able to best support the peddlers.
Yeah. I know you mentioned earlier about the organizations such as Land Befrienders and stuff, whereby they already have a group of elderlies who are with them. I'm just wondering, like, for those elderlies who are really living at home on their own without phones, without radios, without TV, how do they even know of such organizations that's out there that can help them reach out to the community as well?
So usually what happens is for example, Line Befrienders, and I've helped with other organizations as well, is we try and this is actually particularly more for grassroots organizations, is to walk the HDB flats to ensure that that people generally know that there's something going on, like if there's any policy updates. So that there is a list of elderly, especially when we know they may have difficulty getting in touch. So these are all cases flagged up. But of course, we also rely on neighbors as well. So like even for Signpost project, we rely on sometimes the neighbors to tell us or maybe there's this elderly that we should help, or like peddlers, or even around the neighborhood, right? Just like, oh, there's this peddler who's been walking by, I'm concerned about them, and then we go and discuss. Of course, it is not. I admit it's not really very foolproof also, because there will always be people who we may have missed out, but we try our best. Yeah.
But with that, I think if everyone who has dialed in today, if we see everyone do our part, we'll try to capture everything and not miss everything out, right?
Yeah.
Keep everyone together.
We really need the community's help as well.
Yeah, correct. I'm quite conscious of the time now, so I'll probably ask you a question to conclude our session today. So a question that is probably asked to every speaker and probably on the minds of every educators and parents who are tuned in today. So in your experience, what are some of your recommendations or best way to follow up the conversation after today's session to ensure that we always pay attention to the people who are not as visible in our community?
I think one thing is, especially for everyone, for all of us actually, it's really starting small is definitely okay. And I think even if it's buying a tissue paper from my uncle, even if it's $2 or $1, I think they all appreciate it. And even if it's spending time with parents, grandparents, even with myself, I'm not really a primary school student anymore. Like spending time with my parents, it's really meaningful. I think starting small, it always goes a really long way. If everyone starts small, then there'll definitely be a big difference that can be made.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Hazeem. It's a great way to end our session today. Thank you, Dina and Yayi, for the heartwarming chat. And a big thank you to everyone who has tuned in this evening. This is one of the many programs we are presenting for Art Science at Home, with many more lined up in the coming months. Please stay tuned to our website, Facebook, and Instagram for more information. We have now come to the end of our session. Stay safe, stay healthy, and see you next time, everyone. Bye.